I'm a corporate spy. My mission was to get close to the Ice Queen CEO and steal her company's core trade secrets. I built a cover as a wide-eyed, fresh-faced college grad, and she seemed to fall for it completely. She bought me new clothes, brought me to high-stakes meetings, and even gave me clearance to be in her office late at night. The moment I thought I had it all in the bag, the second before I was about to transmit the data back to my employer, my laptop screen went black. She was standing right behind me, holding a flash drive. "Kiddo," she said with a smile, "didn't your handler ever teach you? The hunter often appears as the prey." 1. My name is Ethan Miller. 3 months ago, I successfully landed a job at Victoria Blackwood's company as her personal assistant. My resume was a masterpiece of deception. Ivy League, summa cum laude. Vice president of the student government. 3 glowing internships with serious clout. Most importantly, I have a face you want to trust. On the day of the interview, I wore a simple white button-down, my hair styled to look effortlessly soft and boyish. Victoria Blackwood sat across from me, dressed in a black power suit with razor-sharp tailoring. She flipped through my resume, her expression unreadable. "Ethan Miller." "Yes, Ms. Blackwood." I pitched my voice to sound clean, earnest. She looked up, her gaze as precise as a scalpel. 22. Just turned last month. She closed the resume, tapping her fingers lightly on the polished mahogany desk. "Can you start tomorrow?" I put on my best look of stunned, grateful surprise. "Yes, of course. Absolutely." The corner of her mouth might have twitched into a smile, or maybe I imagined it. "Go see HR. They'll get you settled." I stood up and gave her a respectful nod. As I turned to close the door behind me, I caught a glimpse of her, chin resting on her hand, watching me with a thoughtful expression. In that moment, I thought to myself, she's a total sucker for this type. Too easy. 2. On my first day, I got to the office at 6:30 a.m. I wiped down every surface until the office was spotless. I watered her ridiculously expensive-looking plant and placed her favorite fountain pen exactly where her hand would naturally fall. At 7:40, Victoria Blackwood walked in. Today she was wearing a champagne color dress that made her skin look flawless. She paused when she saw me, a flicker of surprise in her eyes. "You're here early." I stood up, scratching the back of my head in a well-practiced show of bashfulness. I wanted to get a head start and familiarize myself with everything. Didn't want to slow you down. She didn't say anything, just placed her purse on a leather sofa. "Coffee. Already on your desk," I said. "Flat white, extra shot, oat milk. The temperature should be just right." I handed her the cup. As she took it, her fingertips brushed against the back of my hand. They were cool to the touch. She took a sip, raising an eyebrow. "How did you know my order?" I gave her a shy smile. "I saw it in your onboarding file in the company's digital archive yesterday." She stared at me for a few long seconds. "You have a good memory." "It's my job to," she said, nothing more, turning her attention to the documents on her desk. I retreated to my own workstation, my heart rate slowly returning to normal. Round 1 complete. 3. Victoria Blackwood was tougher than I expected. She was ruthlessly efficient and unforgivingly demanding. She could spot a typo from 10 feet away. It took me nearly a month of shadowing her just to keep up with her pace. Throughout it all, I played the part of the dedicated, hard-working assistant. First one in, last one out. Every day, I ordered her lunches, memorizing every dietary restriction. When she worked late, I stayed with her, quietly placing a cup of hot tea on her desk at just the right moment. Once, during a client dinner, I ran interference for her, drinking shot after shot of whiskey until I ended up in the ER with alcohol poisoning. When I woke up, she was sitting by the hospital bed, a small frown on her face. "Don't be a hero if you can't handle your liquor." I managed a weak, pale smile. "Couldn't let you get drunk, Ms. Blackwood. You have that board meeting tomorrow morning." She watched me in silence for a moment. "Get some sleep. The company will cover the medical bills." She stood up and left, the sound of her heels clicking down the hallway, fading away. I closed my eyes, a cold smile on my face. The self-pity play always works. 4. In the second month, she started taking me to important events. One time, we met a client, a greasy middle-aged man named Vance who kept trying to force drinks on her. His hand kept finding its way toward the small of her back. I stepped between them. "Mr. Vance, allow me to take that drink for Ms. Blackwood." The man's face soured instantly. Who the hell are you? Victoria placed a hand on my arm. My assistant is young, Mr. Vance. He doesn't know the ropes yet. Please forgive him. She picked up her glass and downed the whiskey in one go. After we left the hotel, she leaned against the car door and lit a cigarette. The ember glowed in the darkness. Why did you step in like that? I stared at my own shoes. He seemed like a creep. She let out a short, humorless laugh. The world is full of creeps. The smoke veiled her expression. But you did good. That was the first time she'd ever praised me. 5. After that night, her attitude toward me softened noticeably. She started asking me to fix her tie sometimes. When my fingers brushed against her collarbone, I could smell the faint, expensive perfume on her skin. It was a mix of cedar and amber, a scent that suited her perfectly. One night, she was working late and fell asleep on the sofa in her office, completely exhausted. I hesitated for a moment before grabbing a blanket and draping it over her. As I knelt down, I noticed how long her eyelashes were, the elegant line of her nose, her lips. I yanked my gaze away, my heart starting to pound. I'm just tired, I told myself. That's all it is. 6. I made my move in the 3rd month. I memorized her computer password while pretending to hand her documents. I started copying files from her hard drive while she was in meetings. It was all going unnervingly smoothly. One evening, I was kneeling in front of the safe hidden in her office, trying to crack the combination, when the door suddenly swung open. A cold sweat drenched my shirt instantly. What are you doing? Her voice was calm. I turned around, my body stiff, holding up a flash drive as evidence. You mentioned want to back up the minutes from the quarterly meeting. She stared at me for a few seconds. Did you find them? Not yet. She walked over, leaned down, and typed a few numbers into the keypad. The safe clicked open. Next time, just ask if you can't find something. Right. Okay. My hand, clutching the flash drive, was slick with sweat. Did she know? Was this a test? I couldn't sleep that night. I replayed every single detail from the past 3 months in my head. No, I hadn't made any mistakes. There were no loose ends. I was just being paranoid. 7. Yesterday was the company's anniversary party. Victoria had a few glasses of champagne, so I drove her home. She leaned her head against the window, her eyes closed for the entire ride. While we were stopped at a red light, I heard her murmur, "You have a calming presence, Ethan." My grip tightened on the steering wheel. I didn't dare respond. When we pulled up to her high-rise apartment building, she fumbled with her seatbelt, unable to get it unbuckled. I leaned over to help her. We were close. So close I could count her eyelashes. She suddenly opened her eyes. Her pupils were dark, like polished obsidian. Do you have a crush on me? My throat went dry. Ms. Blackwood, you're drunk. She smiled, reaching out to gently touch my cheek. Yeah, I'm drunk. She pushed the door open and got out, her figure looking fragile as she disappeared into the night. I sat in the car for a long time, until my phone buzzed. A message from my handler. Tomorrow is the deadline. 8. Tonight was the night. I had confirmed it. Victoria was in Philadelphia for a conference and wouldn't be back until tomorrow afternoon. I had the entire floor to myself. I sat in her throne-like executive chair and booted up her computer. I inserted the custom-built flash drive. The screen cast a blue glow on my face as the file transfer progress bar slowly crawled across the screen. 80%, 90%, 99%. Just as it was about to complete, the screen abruptly went black. I froze. I tapped the keyboard. Nothing. Then I heard it. The click of high heels on the marble floor behind me. Soft, slow. Click, click. Each one a hammer blow against my heart. I turned my head, my body rigid. Victoria Blackwood was leaning against the doorframe, holding a flash drive in her hand. The same one I had just been using. She tilted her head, a beautiful, terrifying smile spreading across her lips. Kiddo. Her voice was laced with amusement, but her eyes were ice cold. Didn't your handler ever teach you? I opened my mouth, but no sound came out. She walked slowly toward me and placed a flash drive on the desk. The hunter often appears as the prey. 9. The silence in the office was deafening. The only sound was the frantic pounding of my own heart. She circled around behind me, her fingers tracing a light path across my shoulder. I have to admit, your performance these last 3 months was very convincing. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. When I opened them again, I forced myself to remain calm. When did you know? Day one, she said with a laugh. Your resume was too perfect. So perfect it was fake. Then why keep me around? Because it was fun. She leaned in, her voice a whisper in my ear. Watching you play your part was more entertaining than anything on Netflix. I clenched my fists. So all of it. It was an act. What do you think? She straightened up and walked to the liquor cabinet, pouring a glass of whiskey. Staying late with me, taking those drinks for me, watching over me in the hospital. She turned, swirling the amber liquid in her glass. Great acting. I almost bought it. I stared at her, my throat suddenly parched. So what now? Nothing much, she took a sip. Just wanted to let you know that half of the data you just sent back to your bosses is completely fabricated. I shot to my feet. That's impossible. Is it? She raised an eyebrow. You think I didn't notice you peeking at my password? You think I didn't know you were copying my files? She walked to the computer and pressed a key. The screen flickered back to life. It was a stock chart of the rival company. It was a sea of red. Thanks to you, this should be an absolute chaos right about now. I collapsed back into the chair. It was over. Everything was over. Then she set her glass down and walked over to me. Now let's talk business. I looked up at her. What business? You have two choices. She held up two fingers. One, I call the police. Corporate espionage will get you a few years in prison. And the second. Two. She leaned down, her eyes level with mine. You can work for me. You still the hair, stunned. What do you mean? Exactly what I said. She stood up. You're talented. You're meticulous. You're just a little green. I remained silent. She paced around the office. How much are they paying you? I'll double it. It's not about the money. Then what is it? She turned to face me. Do they have something on you? I didn't answer. She smiled. I can make it go away. Why should I trust you? Because you have no other choice. She walked to the window, looking out at the glittering city lights. You failed your mission. Going back to them is a death sentence. She was right. My former employers were not forgiving people. The consequences of failure were far worse than prison. Why are you helping me? Because I recognize talent. She turned back, her face silhouetted against the light. And because I hold a grudge. She returned to her desk and sat down. They dare to come after my company. They're going to pay the price. What do you need me to do? Simple. She steepled her fingers on the desk. Tell me everything you know about them. I looked at her. She looked back at me, her gaze steady, confident, as if she already knew my answer. Okay, I heard myself say. She smiled. This time it was genuine. Welcome aboard, Ethan. 11 I talked with her until dawn. I laid everything out, the entire structure of the rival corporation, the backgrounds of its key players, and the dirty tactics they used to get ahead. She listened intently, asking sharp, incisive questions. Finally, as the first light of morning broke over the city, she handed me a contract. Sign it. It was a formal employment agreement. My position was still her assistant, but the salary was triple what it was before with an additional clause, a massive bonus if I helped her win this war. I signed it. She took the contract and glanced at the time. Want to get some breakfast? I blinked. Now. What? She arched an eyebrow. Mission accomplished, and now you're too good to eat with your boss. It dawned on me. The act had to continue. Okay. She grabbed her purse and walked toward the door, then paused and looked back at me. By the way, lose the cologne. I froze. I'd specifically chosen it after reading an article that claimed it increased likability. It's too deliberate, she said with a small smile. Your natural scent is fine. She turned and left. I stood there for a moment and sniffed my own sleeve. What scent? I couldn't smell a thing. 12 inches the days that followed, I officially became a double agent. On the surface, I was still the earnest, hard-working kid fresh out of college. In the shadows, I was feeding Victoria everything I knew about the enemy. She gave me an encrypted phone for our private communications. One afternoon, I was giving her a report in her office when she suddenly stood up and walked over to me. Don't move. I froze. She reached out and plucked a minuscule listening device from my hair. Their tech is getting better. She examined the tiny bug with a smirk. Tucked away there, most people would never find it. A chill went down my spine. Probably last night, she said, dropping the bug into a glass of water. Who did you see after you left here? I thought back. The barista at the coffee shop downstairs, the security guard in my lobby, and a tourist who asked for directions. "The barista," she said with certainty. "Run a check on him." She was right. He was a plant from the rival company. After that, she had a counter-surveillance device installed on my person. A tiny chip sewn into the lining of my watch. "There. Now you're safe." She patted my shoulder. The warmth of her hand seeped through my shirt. I flinched, an involuntary reaction. Her hand stopped moving. "Are you afraid of me?" "No." "Then what is it?" I didn't know how to answer. She pulled her hand back and returned to her chair. "You can go." Her voice was cold again. 13 one night. It was pouring rain. I finished up my work a little before 10. When I got downstairs, I found her standing by the entrance. "Miss Blackwood." She turned, an umbrella shielding her from the downpour. "Perfect timing. I'll give you a lift." I was taken aback. "Oh, you don't have to do that. I can get an Uber." "It'll take forever in this weather," she said, opening the passenger door. "Get in." I had no choice but to slide into the passenger seat. Soft jazz was playing on the stereo. The rain drummed against the windows, creating a quiet, almost uncomfortable intimacy. "Thank you for today," I said, breaking the silence. "For what?" "The listening device." "Oh, that." She kept her eyes on the road. "Don't worry about it." While we waited at a red light, she asked suddenly, "Why did you get into this line of work?" I hesitated. "Needed the money." "Yeah. Someone your family's sick?" "My sister," I said, looking down. "She has a heart condition. Needs surgery." She didn't ask any more questions. When we arrived at my apartment building, I thanked her and got out. She rolled down the window. "How much more do you need for the surgery?" I pressed my lips together. "A lot." "Would a 6-month salary advance be enough?" I looked up at her, stunned. Her expression was neutral. "If not, we can discuss more." "Why are you doing this for me?" "It's normal for a company to support an employee facing personal hardship." She rolled the window up, and the car disappeared into the rain. I stood there for a long time, not moving. The rain was cold, but for the first time in a long while, a part of me felt warm. 14, my sister's surgery was a success. I took 3 days off to stay with her at the hospital. On the 4th morning, I returned to the office. There was a gift box on my desk. Inside was a tie, deep blue, with a subtle, shimmering thread woven through it. It wasn't my usual style. A small card was tucked inside. Her handwriting was on it. "Congratulations." That was it. Just one word. I took the box and went to her office. "Ms. Blackwood, this." She was reading a document and didn't look up. "You don't like it?" "No, it's too much. A client gave it to me. I have no use for it." She finally looked up, her eyes scanning me from head to toe. "Try it on." I hesitated, then put it on. She stood up and walked over, reaching out to adjust the knot. She was close. So close I could see the tiny mole just below her eye. "It suits you," she said softly. My throat felt tight. "Thank you. Go on," she said, stepping back toward her desk. "You're with me for the client meeting this afternoon." "Okay." I got to the door, then turned back. "Ms. Blackwood." Seriously. "Thank you." She smiled. "I heard you. The client we were meeting that afternoon was a big deal. He was a major account the rival company had been trying to poach for months. Victoria had put me in charge of the entire project." "You trust me that much?" I had asked. "I don't work with people I don't trust." She had said it casually while signing a document, but her words hit me like a physical blow. The meeting went perfectly. The client loved our proposal. After the contracts were signed, their CEO clapped me on the shoulder. "You got a bright future, son." I smiled. I have a great boss. On the way back to the office, Victoria was in a good mood. "What do you want for dinner?" "My treat." My hand paused on the seatbelt. "Is this a victory dinner?" "Let's call it that." She took me to an incredibly expensive omakase restaurant. The atmosphere was serene and private. Halfway through the meal, she said suddenly, "They're going to make a big move soon." I put down my chopsticks. "What kind of move?" "I don't have the specifics yet," she said, taking a sip of sake. "But it'll be in the next few days." "What do you need me to do?" "Protect yourself," she said, looking me straight in the eye. "And if you have to, don't be afraid to play the victim." I knew what she meant. The self-pity play, part 2. "Okay." She poured me a glass of sake. "Are you scared?" "A little." "That's normal." She raised her glass. "I'm scared too." I clinked my glass against hers. "You get scared. Why wouldn't I?" She smiled. "I'm human." We stayed there for a long time. By the time we left, the sky was dark. She'd had a drink, so she couldn't drive. We walked slowly down the street, the lamps stretching our shadows out long behind us. Ethan, yeah, when this is all over, what are you going to do? I thought for a moment. Take my sister on a trip. She's always wanted to see the ocean. That's it, yeah. She fell silent. We waited at a crosswalk for the light to change. The night wind caught her hair, and a single strand brushed against my cheek. It tickled. Without thinking, I reached out and tucked it behind her ear. The moment my fingers touched her skin, we both froze. The light turned green. She recovered first. Let's go. Her voice was a little husky. The call came just as I knew it would. Friday night, I got a text from a burner number. The old warehouse by the docks. 3 p.m. tomorrow. I knew what it was. A final reckoning for my failure. It replied. Then I took a screenshot and sent it to Victoria. She called me instantly. Don't go. I have to, I said. If I don't show, they'll know something's up. Silence on the other end for a few seconds. I'm sending people with you. No, I can handle it. Ethan. It was the first time she'd ever used my name like that. Her voice was sharp with anger. Don't be an idiot. I managed a small laugh. Don't worry. I'm hard to kill. After I hung up, I sat on the edge of my bed, staring into space. In the next room, my sister was sleeping soundly. The surgery had been a complete success. In a few more weeks, she'd be discharged. And it was all thanks to Victoria. I gripped my phone tightly. Whatever happens, I can't let this touch her. The next afternoon, I arrived at the warehouse right on time. 3 of them were waiting. The one in charge was a heavy-set bruiser named Rocco. I'd seen him around. Well, look what we have here. You got some nerve showing your face, Rocco sneered, a cigarette dangling from his lips as he looked me up and down. Rocco, I said, forcing a placating smile. Look, I screwed up. I know that. I'm ready to take my punishment. Punishment? He laughed coldly. Do you have any idea how much money you cost the company? I can make it up to you. Make it up? He cut me off. How? What could you possibly do? The other 2 guys started to circle me. I took a step back. Rocco, just give me one more chance. A chance. He spat the cigarette, but on the ground. Fine. Tell me, what did that Blackwood bitch offer you? She didn't offer me. A fist slammed into my stomach before I could finish. The air rushed out of my lungs, and I doubled over with a grunt. A boot connected with the back of my leg, and I dropped to my knees on the concrete. Talk, did you flip? No. The blows rained down on me. I curled into a ball, protecting my head, biting my lip to keep from crying out. Don't fight back. Not yet. That's enough. A voice echoed from the warehouse entrance. I looked up. Silhouetted against the bright afternoon light, Victoria Blackwood stood there, flanked by several large men in dark suits. Rocco's face paled. Ms. Blackwood, what's the meaning of this? She walked toward us, the sound of her heels sharp and confident on the concrete floor. Did you ask for my permission before you decided to lay your hands on my people? She stopped beside me and looked down. Can you stand? I nodded, pushing myself up off the ground. My leg buckled, and I fell back to one knee. She leaned down and helped me up. Her hand was warm on my arm. You're a moron, she whispered, but there was no heat in it. Rocco sneered. Ms. Blackwood, this is a private family matter. I'd advise you to stay out of it. Family matter? She raised an eyebrow. Ethan works for me now. That makes his business my business. So you're really choosing to go to war over this kid? War? She laughed. You're not even in my league. Rocco's face turned purple with rage. Get her. The other 2 thugs pulled knives from their jackets. Victoria's bodyguards moved forward, but she was faster. I barely saw her move. There were 2 sharp cries of pain, and suddenly both men were on the ground, their wrists bent at unnatural angles. Their knives clattered to the floor. Rocco's jaw dropped. You. Victoria casually shook out her hands, her expression bored. Forgot to mention, I was captain of my university's Krav Maga club. She walked right up to Rocco. Go back and tell your boss, she said, her voice dropping to a deadly whisper. If he ever touches my people again, I will personally destroy everything he has ever built. Rocco nodded frantically. Yes, ma'am. Of course. Get out. The 3 of them scrambled away like frightened rats. The warehouse fell silent. She turned to look at me. Still think you can handle it? I tried to smile, but the pain made me wince. Didn't expect them to have knives. She sighed and knelt to inspect my injuries. Looks like you'll live. Just cuts and bruises. Her hair fell forward, brushing against my cheek. I could smell that cedar and amber scent. Why did you come? I told you. You're my guy. She helped me to my feet. Come on, let's get you to a hospital. I leaned on her shoulder, limping toward the exit. The sunlight poured in through the open door. It felt warm. By the time they patched me up at the hospital, it was evening. The doctor said they wanted to keep me overnight for observation. Victoria walked me to my room. Are you hungry? A little. What do you want? Anything's fine. She left and came back with a container of soup and some bland crackers. She watched me eat. Victoria. Thank you for today. She paused in cleaning up the empty containers. Just don't be so reckless next time. You too, I said. Walking in there by yourself. That was dangerous. She smiled. Were you worried about me? I didn't say anything. That was answer enough. Her expression softened. Ethan, yeah, when this is all finally over. Her phone rang, cutting her off. She answered, and her face grew serious. Something's come up at the office. I have to go. What happened? They're hitting back, she said, standing up. You get some rest. I'll come get you tomorrow. She paused at the door and looked back. I'll finish what I was saying later. The door clicked shut. I leaned back against the pillows, looking out the window. Later. There's a later. That was a good thing. She didn't come the next day. Her executive secretary did. Where's Victoria? She's in a meeting. The secretary looked nervous. I knew something was wrong. What happened? It's nothing. Tell me the truth. She hesitated. The company's stock took a nosedive. A few of the board members are trying to force an emergency vote. My stomach dropped. What? There's an anonymous report accusing Ms. Blackwood of embezzling company funds. I stared at her. That's impossible. We know it is, but... She trailed off. I pulled out my phone and realized it had died. I plugged it in and turned it on. Dozens of missed calls flooded the screen, and a single text from Victoria. Don't worry. I can handle this. I called her back immediately. Voicemail. Take me to the office, I told the secretary. But your injuries. I'm Fine. The lobby was swarming with reporters. We took the service elevator up from the underground garage. The executive floor was thick with tension. Victoria wasn't in her office. She's in main conference room, an assistant whispered. The board is grilling her. I walked to the conference room. The door was closed, but I could hear angry voices from inside. We need an explanation, Victoria. The evidence is right here. What do you have to say for yourself? I moved for an immediate suspension pending a full investigation. I pushed the door open and walked in. Every head in the room turned toward me. Victoria was at the head of the table. She was pale, but her posture was ramrod straight. She looked stunned to see me. Ethan, what are you doing here? I ignored her and walked to her side. Ladies and gentlemen of the board, don't you think it's a bit premature to be handing down a verdict before all the facts are in? One of the older, paunchier board members slammed his hand on the table. Who the hell are you? You have no right to speak here. I smiled. I'm Ms. Blackwood's assistant, and I'm also a material witness to this entire affair. I held up a flash drive. On this drive is definitive proof of a conspiracy by a rival company to frame Ms. Blackwood and manipulate our stock price. The room went silent. Victoria stared at me, her eyes filled with a complex emotion I couldn't decipher. Ethan. I gave her a reassuring nod. It includes everything. How they bribed the CFO, how they fabricated the accounts, all of it. I plugged the drive into the conference room's laptop. The projector screen lit up with documents, emails, and bank records. The board members looked at each other, stunned. Where? Where did you get this? I'm afraid I can't disclose my sources. I pulled out the drive. Now, does anyone else want Ms. Blackwood suspended? No one said a word. Victoria slowly rose to her feet. Now that the truth is out, I believe this meeting is adjourned. The board members filed out of the room, avoiding eye contact. Soon, it was just the two of us. She looked at me. When did you prepare all of this? I've had it for a while, I said. Just in case. She walked to the window, her back to me. Thank you. You're welcome. After a long moment of silence, she spoke again. Can I finish what I was saying at the hospital now? My heart skipped a beat. What was that? She turned around and looked at me. When this is all finally over, we should give this a try. I just stood there, speechless. Try? What? What do you think? She smiled, a real, dazzling smile. Us. Okay. I heard my own voice say, rough and shaky. Her eyes curved into crescents. Then it's a date. Yeah. She walked over to me and gently touched a bruise on my face. Does it still hurt? I'm fine. Liar. She pulled her hand away. Get your things. You're being discharged. What about the office? It's handled. She walked toward the door. The evidence you brought was more than enough. I followed her. That CFO, already in police custody. She pressed the elevator button. I couldn't have done it without you. The polished steel doors reflected our images, standing close together. It was my job. She turned her head to look at me. Don't you think we're a little past that now? I blinked. What should I say instead? The elevator doors opened. She stepped inside and turned to face me. You could say, of course, anything for my girlfriend. I could feel the heat rising in my cheeks. We haven't officially started yet. It's just a matter of time. She grinned as the elevator began its descent. The feeling of weightlessness made my heart race. Or maybe it wasn't the elevator. Back at the office, everything was the same, but different. She would casually hand me her purse. In meetings, she would specifically ask for my input. At lunch, she'd slide the vegetables she didn't like onto my plate. Picky eater, I'd say. She'd raise an eyebrow. You have a problem with that? Not at all. I'd dutifully eat the carrots she'd given me. Her secretary would watch us, trying to stifle a grin. I'd feel a little self-conscious. Is this too obvious? What if it is? Victoria would say, sipping her soup nonchalantly. Am I supposed to hide the fact that I'm dating someone? It might look unprofessional. How so? She put her spoon down. I'm single, you're single. We're not breaking any rules. I never had a good comeback for that. And honestly, I loved it. I just wasn't used to this. Being someone's out in the open. The rival company didn't give up. They initiated a hostile takeover, buying up our stock and trying to force a sale. Victoria was a whirlwind of activity, and I was right there with her, working around the clock. One night, we were in the office past midnight. She'd fallen asleep on the sofa, utterly exhausted. When I went to put a blanket over her, I saw her brow was furrowed with worry even in her sleep. I reached out, wanting to smooth the lines away. My touch woke her up. What time is it? Almost 2. She sat up, rubbing her temples. You should go home and get some rest. Almost done with this proposal. Just a little longer. She looked at me. Ethan. Yeah, if. And this is just a hypothetical. If the company doesn't make it, it will. I cut her off. I'm here. She smiled. When did you get so smooth? I learned from the best. She reached out and gave me a soft, brief hug. It was over in a second. Thank you, she whispered. I turned back to my laptop, but my ears were burning. Then, the worst-case scenario happened. Several of our largest clients pulled their contracts at the same time. Our credit lines were frozen. The cash flow was about to dry up completely. Victoria mortgaged her properties, her penthouse, everything. It still wasn't enough. I knew it was my turn to step up. I need to take a couple of days off. She looked up from her desk, her eyes shadowed with exhaustion. Where are you going? To take care of something. Is it dangerous? No. Elite. She studied my face for a long moment. Come back soon. I will. I went straight to the headquarters of the rival corporation and asked to see their CEO, Mr. Harrison. His security tried to stop me. I put 2 of them on the ground before they knew what was happening. A voice came over the intercom. Let him in. Harrison was sitting in a massive leather chair, looking amused. Ethan Miller. This is a surprise. Mr. Harrison. I sat down opposite him. Let's cut to the chase. Call off. He laughed. And why would I do that? Because of this. I slid a manila envelope across his desk. He opened it. The color drained from his face. Where did you get this? That's not important. Inside was a detailed record of his crimes. Tax evasion, fraud, insider trading. Enough to put him away for the rest of his life. You think this scares me? You know, I smiled. But what about your son? He shot to his feet. You touch my son, and I'll kill you. I won't touch him, I said calmly. But if this information were to leak to the press, I imagine it would be very difficult for him to stay enrolled at his fancy prep school, don't you? He stared at me, his eyes burning with hatred. What did she offer you? I'll double it. She gave me something you can't afford. And what's that? Trust. He looked at me as if I'd told him a joke. Trust? What's that worth? To you, nothing, I said, standing up. To me, everything. I walked to the door and turned back. I want to see news of your withdrawal from the takeover within 3 days. Or what? I didn't have to finish the sentence. He knew. On the flight back, I was so exhausted I fell asleep instantly. I dreamed of my sister. She told me I looked thin. I dreamed of Victoria. She said, "Ethan, don't leave me." I woke up as the plane was landing. The city lights glittered below like stars scattered across the ground. I suddenly missed her so much it was a physical ache. I turned on my phone. Dozens of missed calls. All from her. I called her back. She picked up on the first ring. "Where are you?" Her voice was thick with tears. I froze. "I just landed." "What's wrong?" "I thought you." She couldn't finish. But I understood. "I'm okay." "Where are you?" "I'm coming to get you." "You don't have to. I can grab a cab." "Sim your location." "Now." She hung up. I stared at my phone, a warmth spreading through my chest. I saw her at the arrivals gate. She was wearing sweatpants and a trench coat thrown hastily over them. Her hair was a mess, and her eyes were red and swollen. The moment she saw me, she ran. She crashed in my arms, burying her face in my chest. "You scared the hell out of me." Her voice was muffled. I held her tight. "What happened?" "Harrison called me. He told me to watch out for you." My expression hardened. "What else did he say?" He said you want to see him, that you threatened him." "Yeah." I stroked her back gently. "It's over now." She looked up at me. "How did you do it?" "Let's just say I used some aggressive negotiation tactics." She studied my face. "As long as you're okay." "I'm okay." I leaned down and kissed her forehead. She stiffened. I froze. "Sorry, She stood on her toes and kissed me. A real kiss. Soft and salty with the taste of her tears. "Let's go home," she said, taking my hand. "Okay." 27. The next day, Harrison's company began to pull back. Our stock price slowly recovered. The crisis was averted. At the victory party, Victoria had too much champagne. I drove her home. She leaned against my shoulder, humming a cheerful, off-key tune. "Are you happy?" "So happy," she mumbled into my shirt. Then she looked up at me. "But the happiest part is that you came back." I pulled her closer. "I'm not going anywhere." "Promise?" "Promise." She smiled and planted a kiss on my cheek. Sealed it. No takebacks. No takebacks. 28. A month later, Harrison's company filed for bankruptcy. He was arrested for a host of financial crimes. The day the news broke, Victoria invited me over for dinner. At her place. She cooked. The food was edible, but I ate every bite with gusto. "So, what do you think?" she asked, watching me with an expectant look. "It's delicious." "Liar." She took a bite of her own cooking and winced. "It's too salty." "I think it's perfect." I kept eating, not breaking character. She watched me for a moment, then said suddenly, "Ethan, let's get married." I choked on a piece of chicken, coughing until my face was red. She quickly poured me a glass of water. I was kidding. "God, you look so scared." "No," I said, catching my breath. "I mean, okay." Now, it was her turn to be stunned. "What did you say?" I said, "Okay." I repeated, "Let's get married." She blinked. "Are you serious?" "Yeah." I put down my fork. "I know it's fast, but I love you and I want to be with you. This isn't some impulse. I've thought about it." She just looked at me for a long, long time, and then she smiled. "Okay," she said. "Let's get married." 29. We didn't have a big wedding. We went to City Hall, got the license, and then took a few close friends out to dinner. My sister was there. She adored Victoria, calling her sis with a huge grin. On the way home, my sister whispered to me, "Bro, you really hit the jackpot." I looked at Victoria, who was walking a few steps ahead of us. The setting sun turned her hair to gold. "Yeah," I said softly. "I really did." 30. I still work as her assistant. But now I have another title, Mr. Blackwood. She still calls me kiddo sometimes, especially in bed. "Not bad, kiddo. You're getting better at this." I'd shut her up with a kiss. "Don't call me that." "Why not? It feels like I'm committing a crime." She'd laugh. "Aren't you?" "Yes," I'd say, kissing her again. "And I do the time." 31. Yesterday, while cleaning out an old desk drawer, I found it. The flash drive. The one she'd used in her trap. I showed it to her. "Remember this?" She took it, turning it over in her fingers. "Of course." "Why did you pick me back then?" I asked the question that had been lingering in my mind for years. "Because." She tilted her head, thinking, "You were a good actor, but your eyes gave you away." "What about my eyes?" "The way you looked at me." She smiled, like a stray dog seeing a steak. I groaned. "I'm kidding." She leaned in close, her voice a whisper. It's because I saw the same loneliness in your eyes that I have in mine. I froze. She stood up and tossed the flash drive into the trash can. The past is the past. Let it go. The here and now and the future, that's what matters. I looked at her, bathed in the golden light streaming through the window. Yeah, I said, taking her hand. You're what matters. End.